Last year, I moved into a new apartment after separating from my partner. I was 32 years old, working from home as a software developer. I wanted some peace, but soon found something unsettling in my new home. The apartment building was old and part of a small-town suburb, close to some woods. I felt alone, even in a crowded neighborhood. On my third night, around midnight, I heard a thump from the empty unit above me. It was faint at first. I thought maybe the building was settling. I tried to push it out of my mind, but there was something about it that made my skin crawl. I felt tense, but I told myself it was nothing. The next night came, and the thumping returned. It was a slow, methodical sound, almost like someone was pacing. I tried to remind myself it was just the pipes or something else normal. But my heart raced as I lay in bed, listening. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Sleep didn't come easy that night. The strange sounds continued through the week. They started at odd hours, always that same deliberate pattern. I thought about calling someone, but who would I call? I didn't have any friends nearby. Each night, I tried to focus on my work, but the echoes of those footsteps lingered in my mind, making it hard to concentrate. Sometimes I thought I saw shadows moving just beyond my line of sight, but when I looked, nothing was there. More nights passed, and I grew jumpier. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. When the sounds came, they were almost unbearable. One night, they grew louder and more frantic. It felt like someone was right above me, moving around. I wanted to go check, but I hesitated. It was just me, alone, and I didn't want to seem foolish. After a few days of sleepless nights, I found myself standing at the base of the stairs, heart pounding in fear and anxiety. I went up to the door of the unit above and knocked. My hands were sweaty, and my mouth was dry. I waited for a response, but there was nothing. No answer at all. I walked back downstairs feeling silly, but dread wrapped itself around me like a cloak. That night the sounds resumed, louder than before. I lay in bed, and my heart raced. Then something changed. I heard a whisper. It was faint, barely there, but it sent a chill down my spine. I turned around, but there was nothing, just me in my dark apartment. The silence that followed felt heavy and wrong. I felt sick to my stomach. I still have no idea what those noises were or who or what was above me. I can't explain it, but I can tell you this: I didn't feel safe in my own home. Every night, I lie awake, haunted by the thought of what might have been lurking in that empty apartment. It's strange how silence can feel like a presence of its own. That's a mystery I still carry with me, one that leaves me looking over my shoulder in places I thought were safe. The next evening, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I needed answers, or at the very least, some reassurance that I wasn't losing my mind. I grabbed a flashlight and made my way up the stairs again, my heart hammering with anticipation and dread. I hesitated before the door of the empty unit above. What if someone had moved in since my last visit? The idea gave me pause, but I took a deep breath and knocked hard this time, my knuckles rapping against the wood. Silence followed. I knocked again, louder, and waited. My skin prickled with unease. Just when I was about to turn away, I heard a faint shuffle on the other side. I froze, heart racing. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. No response came. I was about to leave when I noticed something beneath the door. Something dark and small, half hidden in the dim light of the hallway. I crouched down to investigate. It was a piece of paper, crumpled and torn. My hands trembled as I picked it up and slowly unfolded it. It looked old, with faded ink lines resembling notes, or maybe even a message. "Do not disturb," it read. A shiver ran down my spine. Why was this here, and who had written it? The implications of the words hit hard and heavy. My instinct told me to walk away, but curiosity gnawed at me. I felt drawn to what was happening above me. That night, I decided to look up the history of the building. I spent hours on the internet, sifting through news articles and old records. Most were mundane, talking about the neighborhood's development. But then, I stumbled upon an article from many years ago. The title was alarming: Mysterious Disappearance in Maplewood Heights. It detailed the unexplained vanishing of a resident who lived in the apartment directly above me. I felt a chill as I read the lines. The article mentioned strange sounds reported by neighbors, but they were dismissed. The resident had left behind an empty apartment, but no trace of themselves. My blood ran cold. Was I hearing the echoes of someone vanished? I couldn't shake the thought. That night the sounds returned again, more pronounced than before, echoing through my ceiling. They grew louder, more frantic. It felt like something was trying to tell me something. The whispers returned too, mixing with the rhythmic thumping. My grip tightened around my blanket as I listened with dread. This time, it wasn't just a whisper, it was words, twisted and garbled. Help me, I thought I heard, or maybe it was just my mind slipping. I looked at my phone. It was too late. I had to do something. My feet felt rooted to the floor, but I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I grabbed my flashlight again, breathing deeply, trying to steady myself. I remembered the crumpled note tucked in my pocket. It felt like a warning. Then everything changed. The sounds stopped abruptly. In their place, a heavy silence fell over the apartment. My heart constricted in fear. It felt wrong. I took a step back, ready to flee, when I heard a distinct knock from above, slow, methodical, just like that first night. The air grew thick as I stood frozen in place. It was as if whatever was up there was inviting me in. I felt an overwhelming urge to confront it, to find the truth. But deep down, I feared what that truth might be. As the darkness loomed around me, I couldn't help but think, was someone waiting for me in the shadows? I took a shaky breath, adrenaline coursing through me. I had to know what was going on, though fear clawed at my chest. The knocking came again, sharper this time. It echoed in the hollow silence between us. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice quivering. The response was another knock, more insistent. Heart racing, I felt like a moth drawn to a flame. I approached the door, flashlight in hand, and reached for the doorknob. My hand shook as I turned it, half expecting it to be locked, half hoping to confront whatever was on the other side. To my surprise, the knob turned easily. I pushed the door open just a crack, the screech of the hinges slicing through the air. The space beyond was shrouded in darkness. I peered in, my flashlight beam illuminating nothing but empty air and shadows. I hesitated on the threshold. "Hello?" I called out again, my voice seeming small in the vastness. No answer. Just silence wrapping around me like a heavy blanket. Something urged me to step inside. I pushed the door wider, my curiosity overpowering my better judgment. The apartment was just as I expected, abandoned, with dust motes dancing in the thin beam of light. As I scanned the room, I noticed that remnants of someone's life were still littered around. Old furniture covered in sheets, a broken clock still stuck at an hour long past, and papers strewn across the floor, like forgotten thoughts left behind. I walked in further, each creaky floorboard announcing my presence. Then I saw a figure darting across the corner of my eye. My breath hitched as I turned, but there was nothing there, just a chill in the air. I strained to listen, paying close attention to the silence. That's when I felt it. A sudden gust of cold wind swept through the room, sending goosebumps racing down my arms. The flashlight flickered, and I shook it, trying to get it to work. Was it just the batteries failing, or was it something else? My heart pounded as the knocking returned, now louder and more urgent. I knew it was coming from above, but the sound seemed to shift, like it was right behind me. I turned quickly, but the only thing I found was the frail curtain swaying from the draft. I took a step back, and that's when I noticed something on the floor. A large section of the carpet was askew, revealing an outline of a trapdoor. My stomach churned. Was this where the resident had gone? My mind raced with the possibilities. I had to see what was underneath. I knelt and gripped the edge, but fear held me back. What if I found something horrible down there? Taking a deep breath, I pulled the door open. Darkness stared back at me, a yawning abyss waiting to be explored. Before I could gather my thoughts, a loud crash echoed from somewhere beyond the trapdoor. It rattled the walls. Panic surged through me. I shot back to my feet just as a shadow moved behind me. I turned to face it, but I wasn't alone anymore. Someone or something was in the room with me. My heartbeat drummed in my ears, drowning out everything else. I felt trapped. "Who are you?" I cried into the emptiness, and as I did, the air thickened around me, heavy with anticipation. The response came as a whisper, soft but clear. "Help me!" Then everything went dark. I blinked hard, trying to shake off the overwhelming darkness that swallowed me whole. There was a brief, sickening silence, and then a flash of light flickered back to reality. I found myself standing in the same room, but there was something different. The air felt charged, electric, like the calm before a storm. The flashlight returned to life, casting a beam across the space. There was no one there. Just dust and the faint smell of mildew. But something was off. The atmosphere buzzed with an energy I couldn't understand. My skin prickled, and I sensed a lingering presence, as if I was being watched. I took careful steps toward the trapdoor, but that whisper echoed in my mind. "Help me, who was it?" My heart raced as I knelt down again, trying to block out the fear that threatened to paralyze me. I pulled the trapdoor wide. It creaked ominously, revealing a dark stairwell descending into the unknown. "Okay, just look. You can't turn back now," I whispered to myself. As I peered down, the air became colder. A smell of must and decay wafted up, prickling my nose and sending me stumbling back. I ducked my head to listen, straining for any sound from below. Then I heard a faint scuffling, scraping against the wood. It sent chills up my spine. I wasn't alone down there. In that moment, I felt a shift behind me, a movement in the shadows near the doorway. I spun around, the beam from my flashlight illuminating nothing but more dust motes dancing in the air. I was alone again, yet the feeling of being watched intensified. The knocking started again, echoing from above. It was frantic this time, more desperate. It didn't come from the trapdoor as I initially thought. It was coming from the ceiling. A cold sweat broke out along the back of my neck. What was up there? I had to choose. Investigate the mysterious knocking above, or venture down the stairs. Both choices sent panic surging through me. My instincts screamed for me to leave the apartment, but curiosity held me in place. I took a step toward the stairs when my flashlight died again, plunging me into darkness. I cursed under my breath, shaking the device, but it flickered back on briefly, revealing a glimpse of something moving down below, just a shadow, but it was enough to anchor my fear. With my heart pounding, I made the choice. I would go up first. I had to see what was making that noise. Each step I took felt heavier as I climbed. I reached the doorway that led into the adjacent room, my hand trembling on the knob. Pushing the door open, I found myself staring at a silhouette outlined by the moonlight filtering through a cracked window. It was a person, a woman, her face obscured. Just then, a child's laugh echoed from behind her, sweet and innocent, but it filled me with dread. "Help me," the woman said, her voice barely above a whisper. Before I could respond, the door slammed shut behind me. I recoiled, heart racing as the door slammed with a finality that sent shockwaves of panic through me. I was trapped. The woman stood there, shrouded in darkness, and her presence felt both alien and oddly familiar. "Please," she repeated, her voice tinged with desperation. It was a simple word, but it echoed with urgency. "You have to help me." "Help you?" I found my voice, shaky and uncertain. "Help you with what?" The figure shifted slightly, moving closer to the moonlight, and I finally caught a glimpse of her features. There was a softness about her, yet her eyes bore a shadow of hopelessness. She opened her mouth as if to speak again, but the child's laughter cut through the air, once more innocent, playful, and utterly out of place. I glanced behind her, searching for the source of the laughter. "Where's the child?" I asked, my voice nearly a whisper now, trembling at the thought of an innocent caught in this madness. "Mommy!" The voice echoed from somewhere in the room, filled with playful glee. It sent a jolt through me. A chill crawled up my spine. That laugh was too innocent for a place like this, a place that felt so trapped in grief. Where is she? I demanded, this time a bit louder, desperation mixing with fear. The woman took a step back, retreating into the shadows. The child, what's going on? Do you want to know the truth? Her voice was barely a whisper, too soft against the backdrop of my rising anxiety. The room seemed to pulse as if it were holding its breath. Yes, I pressed, but doubt churned in my stomach. How much truth could she reveal here, in the dark? Then everything shifted. The room around me felt as if it were closing in. The air thickened, laden with tension. I turned to the door, my instinct screaming at me to escape, but it was locked tight, no way out. Please, she urged again, her face now twisted in anguish. You have to believe me. She's in danger. You must. The child's laughter rang out again, this time closer, sounding like it was right behind me. I spun around, but nothing. Just shadows. I backed away slowly, my heart slamming against my ribs. What do you mean? Who's in danger? The woman's expression hardened, and in that moment, I saw a resolve mixed with fear. If you leave now, you might never find out. But if you stay, you might learn the truth. The truth can save her. My decision loomed in front of me like a black hole, sucking all hope and clarity. Before I could think it through, the lights flickered violently, the bulb overhead buzzing angrily. In that split second, shadows moved. I caught glimpses of them, dark, twisting shapes spiraling inwards around me. I'm not alone, I murmured, panic rising. Stay with me. She lunged forward, desperation etched into her features. But it was too late. The shadows closed in. Then everything went dark. I woke up gasping, the cold floor beneath me grounding me in reality. My heart thudded, loud and insistent. I blinked against the darkness, trying to figure out where I was. The flickering lights had left me disoriented, but the echo of the child's laughter still danced in my mind. I was alone now, but I didn't feel safe. Rising slowly, I took a cautious step forward. The air was heavy and I could hear the faint hum of electricity. The woman, the desperate figure in the shadows, where was she now? I scanned the room, looking for any sign of her or the child. My breath caught when I noticed a soft glow in the corner. A small lamp flickered on, revealing more of the room that had been cloaked in shadow. To my left was a worn-out armchair, its fabric frayed. A small wooden table sat beside it, cluttered with toys, dolls, a toy truck, and oddly, a picture framed face down. I approached it and flipped it over, my stomach churning at the sight. It was a photo of a woman with long hair, cradling a young girl. They looked happy. Mommy! The laughter echoed again, but this time it was sharper, more urgent. I instinctively turned towards the sound, but there was nothing behind me, just an empty corridor stretching away into the dark. Who's there? I called, my voice sounding weak even to my ears. No answer came, just silence that wrapped around me tightly. Every fiber of my being urged me to run, but my feet felt glued to the spot. Then I remembered the woman's words. She had said the child was in danger. What kind of danger? I glanced back at the photo, wishing I could just understand what was happening. A soft thump came from the hallway, like a small footfall. My heart raced again, but this time with curiosity and dread. I crept towards the sound, each step deliberate. I peeked around the corner, expecting to see something, anything. To my shock, I found a small door I hadn't noticed before. It was slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning me. Hello? I murmured, but silence answered me back. I reached for the handle, my hand trembling. My instincts screamed for me to turn back, but curiosity pushed me forward. I turned the knob slowly, and the door creaked open. Inside, the room was dim, and the air was stale. I stepped through, my heart pounding. There, in the center of the room, was a small pile of toys, circular like a nest. And in the middle of it all was a locket, glinting softly in the dim light. I picked it up, my hands shaking. When I opened it, two tiny pictures peeked out, one of the woman from the photo, and the other, a child who looked just like the girl in her arms. I gasped. No, it can't be. That's when a voice whispered from behind me, chilling my veins. You weren't supposed to find that. I froze, the locket slipping from my grasp. It fell with a soft thud, landing amidst the toys, which seemed to laugh silently at my panic. Heart pounding, I turned slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. Behind me stood a figure cloaked in shadow, eyes glinting like cold steel. Who are you? I managed to stammer. The air felt electric, charged with fear and an overwhelming sense of wrongness. My mind raced, searching for an escape. Why are you here? The voice was low, almost a growl. It echoed in the confined space around me, reverberating against the walls like a threat. I took a step back, my mind screaming at me to run, but I was anchored, paralyzed. I was just looking for someone, I said, hoping to sound more confident than I felt. I heard a child. The figure tilted its head, and I caught a glimpse of a scarred face. You shouldn't have come here. It's dangerous. The words dripped with an urgency that made me shiver. Dangerous how? I asked, desperate for any answer that might help me make sense of my confusion. They'll find you, the figure hissed, glancing towards the door. You need to get out. Before I could respond, footsteps echoed down the corridor outside. They were small, quick, and unrelenting. I could hear the faint sound of giggles, a stark contrast to the figure's warning. My chest tightened. Who is that? I whispered, not taking my eyes off the shadow. Just run. Now. With that, the figure lunged forward, pushing me back towards the door. I stumbled, momentarily stunned. I burst through the door and into the corridor. Panic surged through me, urging my legs to move. The laughter grew louder as I ran, panic blurring my vision. I glanced over my shoulder. The figure was gone, swallowed by the darkness of the room. I barely registered the flickering lights above me as I turned sharply, trying to leave the chaos behind. Wherever I ran, those footsteps followed. There was an undercurrent of something lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for me to slow down. Around the corner, the hallway twisted and turned, opening into another room. It was empty, save for a dim light that spilled from the far side. I hesitated, torn between safety and the need to escape the laughter that haunted me. As I stepped inside, I noticed a large, dusty mirror leaning against the wall. Its surface was cracked, but I could see the reflection of the door I had just fled. I held my breath, and as I watched, something moved in the doorway, faint, shadowy, but unmistakably there. I felt my heart race again, this time not from fear, but from a creeping realization. Whatever was in this house was watching me. Before I could react, something cold and tiny brushed against my leg. I gasped and looked down to find a doll lying at my feet, its glassy eyes staring up at me with a familiar intensity that twisted my gut. That's when I heard it again, the sound of small footsteps growing closer. I wasn't alone anymore. My breath caught as I stared at the doll. There was something unsettling about its presence, a chill that crept up my spine. The footsteps grew louder, and I instinctively crouched down, heart racing, praying that whatever was out there wouldn't see me. Shadows danced along the walls as the flickering light cast erratic shapes around the room. The giggles became more pronounced, echoing off the walls, and I pressed my back against the mirror, wishing I could blend into its surface. In a moment of desperate clarity, I somehow knew that whatever was in this house wasn't friendly. I glanced back at the doll, feeling like it was the key to understanding what was going on. Its glassy eyes seemed to follow me, a silent plea in their dark depths. I needed to find out what it wanted, but I also needed to escape. Then I heard the unmistakable sound of tiny fingers scraping against the wooden floorboards outside the room. I bit my lip, my mind racing. Should I wait for whoever or whatever it was to enter, or make a break for it? Just as I made my decision to bolt, the door creaked open. A dark figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, too tall to be a child. My pulse quickened. I clutched the doll, hoping it might somehow offer me protection. Found you, a sing-song voice chimed, dripping with mockery. It had an innocent tone, but it sent a shiver down my spine. I recognized that voice, the kind of laughter that hides mischief behind an innocent facade. The figure stepped inside, and I could finally make out the details. It was a child, but there was something deeply unsettling about its smile, something that felt so wrong. My instincts kicked in. I had to leave. I darted past the figure, who barely flinched as I rushed towards the door. I could feel the child's gaze burning into my back, a mix of curiosity and malice. I sprinted down the hall, ignoring the flash of fear gripping my heart. The laughter followed me, multiplying and echoing, as if I had disturbed a colony of hidden spirits. I turned corners quickly, the layout of the house becoming a blur, each shadow broken by flickers of light overhead. It felt like I was running in circles, trapped in a strange loop of the night. Around one last corner, I halted. A heavy wooden door stood before me, slightly ajar. A flickering light spilled into the hallway, illuminating worn floorboards and peeling wallpaper that whispered secrets of days long past. I hesitated, hearing the footsteps again, closer this time. With no other option, I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The moment I did, everything went dark. The door slammed shut behind me, sealing me in. I felt around, trying to regain my bearings. Metal shelves clinked under my touch, and the air smelled stale, almost suffocating. I turned, praying for light, desperate to understand where I was and what I had stumbled into. Then I felt a presence just beyond my reach, breathing, watching. I slowly turned towards it, my heart hammering in my chest. I was not alone anymore, and whatever waited for me in the dark was not finished. I felt my breath hitch as I strained to sense whatever was lurking in the shadows. I didn't want to stay still. I wanted to flee, but my feet felt glued to the ground. Every instinct screamed at me to run, yet curiosity compelled me to stay. Then I heard it, a whisper. It sounded like my name, soft and sweet, almost familiar. I craned my neck, trying to see deeper into the dark. Nothing. Just the faint outline of shelves filled with unidentifiable objects. With a trembling hand I reached for my phone, praying it had enough battery to provide some light. The dim glow illuminated a small space around me. Dust particles danced in the air, creating a strange fairy tale atmosphere that clashed with the mounting dread within me. That's when I noticed it, a small, dusty picture frame lying on one of the shelves. My heart raced as I approached. The image was faded, but I could make out a family portrait. My breath caught again. They looked eerily similar to people I knew, but there was an unsettling twist in their expressions, as if they were aware of something lurking just outside the frame. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the room. Startled, I spun around, clutching the doll tightly. The noise had come from the other side of the room. "Who's there?" I called, my voice shaking. Silence hung in the air like a heavy fog. With renewed urgency, I focused on the picture frame again. Maybe it was a clue. As I turned it over, I felt something sharp prick my finger. I pulled my hand back and saw a tiny piece of glass fall onto the floor. A hidden latch. I opened the frame wide, revealing a small compartment. Inside lay an old yellow note. I fumbled to pick it up, praying it might explain the chilling events unfolding around me. The note read, "They come at midnight. Stay hidden, or the doll will take you." I felt a wave of panic wash over me. What did it mean? I looked back at the doll in my hands. Could it be more than just a creepy toy? Suddenly, laughter echoed through the air again. It felt closer this time, almost like it was right behind me. I turned rapidly, but there was nothing there. Just shadows and shelves. Then I heard the unmistakable sound of tiny feet scampering across the floor, moving away. I had to go. I had to escape this place. I backed towards the door I had come in through, but a scratchy giggle filled the room, freezing me in my tracks. The hair on my arms stood up. The child's voice floated through the dark, "You shouldn't play with things that don't belong to you." Just then, I felt something brush against my leg and I looked down, heart racing. The doll had changed in my grip. It was grinning widely now, and its eyes sparkled like tiny black stones. My fingers trembled as I dropped it to the ground. I needed to get out. As I lunged for the door, it swung open, revealing the dim, flickering light of the hallway just as the laughter rose to a crescendo of excitement and malice. I stepped into the light, feeling the cold grip of the shadows closing in behind me. Whatever I had awakened here wasn't letting me go that easily. I turned to run, but the door slammed shut behind me again, plunging me back into darkness. Panic surged through me as I pushed against the door, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped, and the echo of that chilling laughter enveloped me, swirling around my thoughts. I strained to listen for any sign of movement beyond the door, my heart racing like a caged bird. The whispers started again, weaving through the thick silence. Help me! It was that same pleading voice that had sent me spiraling into this nightmare. But now, the urgency felt mixed with something more sinister, almost mocking. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block it out, but the voices grew louder, drowning my senses. Taking a deep breath, I turned away from the locked door and focused on my surroundings. The shelves brimming with dusty objects formed a makeshift labyrinth around me. With trembling hands, I reached for one of the nearest shelves, scanning it for anything that might help, something to break the cycle of fear that had entrapped me. My fingers grazed along the edge of an old music box, its surface dulled by time. Holding it up to the faint light, I noticed the intricate carvings on its surface, two figures dancing together in a joyful embrace. I pressed the small latch and a haunting melody drifted into the air, weaving through the shadows, momentarily drowning out the whispers. To my astonishment, with each note, the dark atmosphere shifted slightly, as if the air itself was bending. I caught a glimpse of movement tucked in the corners, fleeting shadows swaying gently to the music's rhythm. My heart leaped. A realization struck me. It was as if the song offered a brief respite against whatever was lurking in the darkness. But that comfort was short-lived. The melody ended abruptly, softly fading into silence that felt deafening. Suddenly, the shadows thickened, twisting more aggressively, and the child's laughter erupted again, a cacophony of glee that bounced off the walls and stung my ears. Before I could react, there was movement behind me. I turned, and the figure of the woman appeared once more, flanked by two small silhouettes, their giggles echoing in the air around us. I squinted, struggling to make out their features in the low light. Something inside me screamed that I should run, but the woman's eyes caught mine, and I felt rooted to the spot. "Please," she implored, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You must understand. They are not what they seem." The shadows swarmed closer, their laughter now tinged with malice. The children grinned widely, eyes glistening with an insidious joy. I sensed the danger radiating from them. "What do you want?" I managed, the words catching in my throat. "What do you want from me?" "They want to play," she whispered, glancing at the children. "They want to take you with them." A cold dread settled in my stomach, and before I could contemplate my next move, I bolted for the door, the only escape. My hand gripped the knob, and with all my might, I yanked it once, twice, and on the third attempt, it gave way with a sudden swing. Light flooded in, blinding me for a second. I stumbled out into the hall, the sound of the children's laughter ringing sharply in my ears, almost drowning out the woman's voice calling after me, "You can only leave if you remember." I ran, ignoring the confusion, my feet pounding against the worn wood. I didn't stop to look back. The laughter grew fainter as I rushed down the corridor, each step propelling me closer to the door of the building and away from whatever horrors lurked behind. Bursting through the front door, I forced myself to take a breath. The chill of the outside air hit me like a wave, grounding me. I was out. I had made it. My heart raced in exhilaration, a mix of relief and disbelief. But as I stepped into the quiet night, the echoes of that laughter lingered in my mind like a distant song. Though I had escaped, an uneasy feeling settled within me, the sense that the shadows were still there, waiting for the right moment to reach out again. I moved to a different city soon after. The new place brought with it a fresh start, but sometimes I would glance over my shoulder when I walked alone, half expecting to see familiar figures lurking just out of sight. A part of me always wondered what lived within those walls, and if I had truly left it behind. But maybe some questions are better left unanswered, the darkness still whispering its secrets quietly in the night.